Hey, everybody. It's Liz here with Springfield Leather, and this is the Make Something podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Tom Eberle, with us from currently Hermann Oak Leather. But we have just been sitting here talking while Justin's been getting ready about the plethora of leather experience that you have because you are from a leather tanning family for generations. I know, I think 2 years ago we were sitting down at Sheridan and it was Sunday afternoon. Everybody was breaking down. I think it was just Bob Park left with his very specific deconstruction of his booth.
No, it's a process. It's a project, we should say.
And so you and I just got to talking while that was happening. It had calmed down quite a bit at the show. It was just a very few handful of us there left. And you kind of started to tell me about your history and your past in leather. And it is so incredible. Just like we were saying before, there was at one point 600 tanneries in Pennsylvania alone. And now there's one? There's one. So you've got Weaver Leather is there, and they're a new addition.
Well, Weaver's actually over in Ohio.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness, for some reason. Well, so then who's left in?
Well, Wicket.
We should just start over at this point. We'll just Wicket and Craig. Where am I? Weaver is in Ohio, and they don't tan. We're just going to cut that. All right. So Wicket and Craig Leather.
Yes.
In Pennsylvania is the last tanner. And you actually have the story of relocating them.
I had the privilege of being asked to relocate the tannery. They were expropriated by the city of Toronto for the 96 Olympics. And you might say, but Tom, the 96 Olympics were in Atlanta. And you'd be correct. Atlanta stole the Olympics from Toronto, but Toronto had started the process of making room, and the Wicket and Craig Tannery was located in downtown Toronto. They started in 1867, and you could see the Sky Dome from the roof of the tannery, the Sky Dome, and the Canadian National Tower.
Wow.
From the top of the tannery.
Oh, that's cool.
So the city was kind of anxious to get their hands on that property. So they started the expropriation, and they came in and said, "What was yours, Wicket and Craig?" Which was actually a division of Dominion Tanners.
Okay.
And they said, "Is now ours, and you've got so much time to move out."
Wow, what a big ask, or what a big tell, I suppose.
So coincidentally, I was in the process of leaving Prime Tanning.
Okay.
And I went on a tour, and I called up 6 tanners in the country, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to stay in the tanning industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I called them up and I said, "I want to have an informational conversation with you. I don't want a job. I'm not calling you for a job. I just want to talk to you."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they were very receptive and said, "Well, sure, come on in and talk." So I took about a 6,000-mile trip. I drove to all these different tanneries and sat down and said, so it was strategic in its nature. I was trying to decide if I was going to stay with the leather business, or my brother had exited. And is this what I should be doing? And so what are the opportunities? What are the problems with the industry? If you were my age, what would you be thinking about? These were older guys that had been in the business many years. And so it was very good. It just so happened that when that Dominion Tanners was one of the companies I called, and I walked in within a week that they had received the expropriation notice, and the owner, Con Riley, called me back a week later, and he said, "I know you weren't looking for a job, but," he said, "I think I have the job opportunity of a lifetime for you." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he said, "I've got to move this tannery." And he said, "Until you walk through the door, I didn't know who I was going to call, but," he said, "I'm calling you."
Wow.
And all he said was, "I want it in the United States."
That was your only stipulation?
That was the only stipulation.
Interesting. So, I mean, so he started in the late 1800s, just like
1867.
1867. And so, like, I literally last week was just at Hermann Oak. You're looking at how things function there. So he's, I assume, going from a very similar situation that Hermann Oak is possibly in, building wise, kind of construction, how they've been processing leather.
That was a 4-story building.
Okay. So one more floor.
It was just a way you could put the hides up on top and then gravity them all the way down and come out the bottom of the
right
on the first floor
Just
and
crane
ready to go.
So does that entail you literally building a brand new facility for them?
Well, we bought a cheese plant and
Oh,
converted it into a tannery.
okay.
But it was 120,000 square feet of basically empty space with 40-foot ceilings. And it was all insulated because the cheese was all kept cool. And so it was just there was a paved parking lot with lighting, with a security fence and a guardhouse. I mean, it was ready to move in. All the secondary switchgear was there.
Okay.
So when we moved in, it really facilitated the making of the just transferring it in and making it into a vegetable tannery.
Gotcha.
So we got to do everything that you always wanted to do. Again, I grew up in a tannery that was built in the early 1920s.
Yeah.
And of course, we face those challenges at Hermann Oak today. Working with the basic tannery was built in 1881, so that presents its own challenges. But at Wicket, we just had a blank floor and could do whatever we wanted, wherever we wanted it, so we could really pay attention to process flow.
I bet that was real nice.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Was it one of your favorite projects that you've ever done?
Absolutely. It was like, this is what, I used to argue with my father on spending money at Eberle Tanning Company, but this was like, whatever you want to do, and the financing was all there. That was one of the reasons it was located in Pennsylvania. Wicket got like $6 million worth of financing in 30 days.
Wow.
The state was looking to provide jobs in central Pennsylvania, and they just made this financing available, low interest, and
they said, "Come on in."
Immediate. And so it's like a kid in a candy store. With that, we like that.
Well, and so this is all a single floor operation.
Yeah.
Oh, that does sound really nice.
Yeah. The only thing that was upstairs was the offices.
Nice. Yeah. Leather is heavy. I tell you what, every time I go to Hermann Oak, I think this is the third time that I've, have the privilege to go up there. And I encourage anyone that does come through the state of Missouri, if you have a chance, or any tannery that you happen to go by, and if you do leather work, to go and see how it's made, or even, watch the videos of the people that have done the tours of the tannery. You have such an appreciation. It is a hard job. It is physically demanding.
The guys, I don't know how they do it. I mean, maybe I forgot. I grew up working basically every job in the tannery.
Okay.
But we weren't doing jumbos, and we segmented the hides, so they were smaller pieces. And
well, you were doing footwear, right? You were doing sole bins,
sole leather bands, and double shoulders, and bellies, nothing to bellies, and they were all regular. Instead of 80 pounds, they were 60 to 66 pounds. So it was a totally different hide.
Yeah.
But conceptually, a lot of the things are the same. But I did it I did it even with those lighter hides. I did it to get in shape for football.
Yeah.
So, I was 5'2" and 117 pounds. I just terrorized the other team.
You grew a little bit since you got out of school.
Just a little bit.
People come in here and they want a piece of A-grade leather, and they just want something that's just absolutely perfect, zero blemishes. Flawless leather. What is that?
Like plastic?
Like plastic. I know. That's what, when Adam was here, we were just railing about fat wrinkles. And I was like, you get an appreciation for fat wrinkles. Embrace it. It's part of the hide.
It's your guarantee that there's nothing between you and that hide.
Yeah.
So I always like all the things that you guys were talking about. I have a name for that.
Okay.
Nature's beauty marks.
Amen. I love it.
But this goes back to Hartman Luggage.
Okay.
Sold basically nothing but it was called belting leather, and it was a stuffed piece of leather, 100% veg tan. And the owner of Hartman Luggage, a guy named Ira Katz, used to travel across the country, and he would go into every major retailer, if it was Macy's or whoever. He would go in and he would ask to see the sales people in the luggage and leather department.
Okay.
He would sit down with them and go over it, and he'd grab a chrome tan briefcase and one of his Hartman briefcases, and they would be a lot of times, the chrome leather was trying to knock off veg. This case cost $250. This Hartman costs $500. Why in the world would you pay twice as much for this? Is this like a magic bag or what? Does it convert to a suitcase? What is so special about this bag? And so his line was this: the best this bag is ever going to look is when you take it home.
Sure.
It's only going to deteriorate from there. It's going to get rubbed off, and you're going to.
And we're talking about the chrome tan bag.
The chrome tan,
yep.
You're going to see. You're going to get down to the blue.
Yep.
Because they dyed over it, and they may have put pigment on it, and the scratches look like you got in a cat fight. And
because you're scratching off a layer of paint.
You could be taking off a layer of paint, or even if it's drummed out, you go down through the dyeing job, and you're left with that blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take the Hartman bag, and every day that you carry this, it's going to look better.
Yep.
And it's going to get that rich patina that veg leather gives you, and it's going to get, here's the line, the look and feel of a well-worn Western saddle.
Oh.
But it's going to, the other point that he make is it's going to make your personal leather good, it's a category or market name, personal leather goods, it's going to make it personal.
Yeah.
So it's going to have your rub marks on, and it's just going to develop this. It's got the fat wrinkles, it's got the scratches, it's got personality.
Right. But I think at the same time, with that personality, it's never going to have like the flaws that you will start to see in the chrome tan one.
The dare I say, the deficiency of the tannage.
Yeah. You're, you could scratch the surface of it, and it might put a little burnish in it, but it's not like you're not going to get peeling finish off of that. No. You're not going to get all of these cosmetic blemishes that start to appear, or this degradation of appearance. It's just going to keep looking better.
Now there are chrome tannages. There are people like Horween that will do a heavy veg retan over the chrome base, and those will be much better.
Tell us about that, because I mean, I've worked here for a long time now, and I hear about, you've got veg tan and you have chrome tan, and then you have retan, where they've taken a chrome and then vegged it on top. Tell me a little bit about that process. What is that?
Well, they're trying to impart some of the vegetable tan characteristics to the chrome leather. So that when they do that, because the veg tan is a much larger molecule than the chrome.
Okay.
I mean, like, not to get too scientific,
get super
here,
technical,
but the molecular weight of chromium is probably somewhere around 50, the chromium complex. The molecular weight of most of the veg tans is 2,500 to 5,000.
Oh, okay.
So you got this little tiny molecule versus this gargantuan molecule.
You've got a mouse and an elephant.
And what happens is, so the chrome goes in and fixes on just one bonding site of the protein.
Okay.
The veg tan goes in like with all these tentacles and wraps up, maybe 100 different sites.
Oh.
And that's where the temper and the abrasion characteristics. So, they're totally two different tannages.
So when you do a retan, are you partially chrome tanning? I don't know.
The retan is, so it's fully chrome tan.
It's fully chrome tan.
And then they're gonna put as much veg as the hide will take. So there'll be some interaction between the chrome and the veg, but you can't get anywhere near it doesn't take anywhere near the amount of veg tan for the chrome tan because
Sure.
it's already tanned.
Interesting.
But it does impart some of the veg characteristics to the chrome leather.
Right.
And you can also, I mean, there is such a thing as a chrome retan. So somebody wants something that's even softer, they'll do a second chrome process to the leather. There's alum. There's a number. There's zirconium. There's a number of different things that you can retan the leather with to give it different properties.
Okay, so let's say I'm looking through my crate of Moore and Giles upholstery leather, and I've got a 2 to 3 ounce upholstery that is super duper supple that I can just wad up into a ball. And then the next hide that I come across, because of course I just have a whole bunch of odd lots from their leftovers and things. And the next one that I come through is also a 2 to 3, and it's still pretty firm, and I can pick it up in the middle and it stays there. Is there different tanning properties for those two hides?
Once you go back into the drum, you can do, just like you can exchange dyes and get different colors, you can put in different compounds. Historically, it was all the oiling compound that you use.
Okay.
And you start out with a neatsfoot oil, would be very, it would be, you could penetrate, put a lot in, get a very soft piece of leather, and then you can go all the way up to, you start getting into beef tallow, which, that's a solid at room temperature. And then you go from there all the way up to waxes.
Okay.
And then this is the fun of being a tanner, is you can combine these in any combination you want. And how you administer them can be different. Do you heat up the drum? Do you heat up the solution before it goes in? Of course, with chrome, because it has a higher resistance to heat, you can use warmer temperatures to introduce. So you can use a higher melting point for those leathers, for chrome tan leathers, than you can for veg.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's another variable that you can create a whole different genre of leathers. And again, what does the customer want? What's the use for the leather? What do they want? And the tanner has a whole bunch of
tools,
different ways to go.
Interesting.
And that's one of the fun parts about tanning.
Yeah. So you grew up in a tannery. So kind of tell me a little bit about Tom's experience and how you have become the expert in America for tanning leather.
Well, I think one part of it was at some point when I was going around talking to all the guys of some of these in major tanneries. So SB Foot, I went and visited, and Wolverine Worldwide.
Okay.
So they were big names in the prime tanning. They were big names in the tanning industry, and this would have been in the early 80s. And late 80s. But anyway, at some point I had this strategic thought that there was going to be a shortage because so much of the tanning business was moving offshore. First, what happened is the customers, so mainly the shoe manufacturers, moved to Asia where the cheaper labor was. And then the tanners followed them.
Right.
And today, 60% of our hides go to China.
Right.
They get made into shoes, and then they come back and we buy them. But I had this strategic thought that some leather was always going to be tanned in the United States. And with everybody, who was getting into the business when it was imploding? Nobody. So I already had a start in it, and I said, sooner or later, somebody's going to want to know how to make leather.
Sure. It's a very vital resource.
And I'm going to be that guy. That's, I feel talk about calling, and passion, but I just thought, somebody's going to need to know how to manufacture a piece of leather. And I had a head start on that. And plus, not just the tanning side, but also on the business side of it. And someone who knows the technical and the business side of it will be able to provide value on down the road. And ultimately, when Shep called me in 2015 when he had to go in for his surgery and his treatment. That's why he called me.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know who else I could call that would be able to. He called me on a Thursday. I was there Monday morning, and he was under the knife that Thursday, and it was just bang, bang, bang. So,
what's that like growing up in a family of tanners?
Well, the best part of it was working in a family business.
Mm-hmm.
And so my father was in it. I had an older brother in it. And eventually my sister came in. She came in and was selling leather up in New England. She was our New England salesperson. But the level of trust, if the family gets along, obviously, and they like each other,
it really helps.
Which we did. We were a cohesive family, and we're all working for the family. That the level of trust that you have there, it allows you to do things that you can't do otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
There's no second guessing. You know why they're doing it, and you're all headed in. You share the values, you share the vision, and so you're all rowing in the same direction. And it doesn't even need to be discussed. It just happens.
Yeah.
And once you get used to that, and this is what happened to me, once you get used to that, it's like if you don't have it, it's something's terribly missing.
Yeah.
And I wound up after I left Wicket, and Wicket's previous owner basically was going to try and stay and be the last shoe leather tanner in Canada, and they were. But the reason for that was there was no shoe manufacturers, so they had they couldn't sell their leather. And so they came under financial hardship, and they wanted me to do things. They wanted me basically to deconstruct the culture that Doug Morrison's another name, has a lot of experience. He's our salesperson east of the Mississippi. And Doug was the first person I hired at Wicket and Craig. And they were the owners were asking us to basically, the way I would say it would be to whip the people into more profitability. So it was all about the profit. It wasn't about taking care of the people and making the best leather we could. It was all about cutting expenses and
finding margins
and really taking advantage of the people. And I said, you'll have to get somebody else to do that. I'm not doing that.
Sure.
So we agreed to disagree. Shep always liked to say, I go through that with Shep, and Shep would always say, Eberle, they fired you. I said, yeah, well, what's the difference?
Right.
But that's okay.
Right.
That was okay. So anyway, I bounced around, and I wound up going through I would best describe it. A lot of people would say a life coach, career counseling, but I wound up with a gentleman down in Atlanta, and went through this process called life and career planning.
Okay.
And so I said, it costs money.
Yeah.
And I said, if I spend this money with you, what are the deliverables? He said, well, first thing I want to give you is a vision for your life, not for just your career, your life. Mm-hmm. So more than finances.
How old were you when you were doing this?
52.
52. All right.
Yeah. Better late than never, they say. So second thing is we're going to give you confidence. Well, what do you mean confidence? I'm pretty, hopefully not cocky, but I'm pretty confident in what I know.
Yeah.
But the confidence in knowing what you're good at. So think strategic planning. A strategic planning exercise for an organization would be, what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses and what are our values, and being able to get that all out on paper. So, and it's got to be factual. It can't be opinion. It's got to be factual. So, I said, so what's the third thing? Third thing is focus. So once you know what it is you say, and the best way to talk about a life and career vision or mission statement would be to say, what do I want to be remembered for?
Okay.
And so you start with the end result.
Yeah.
This is where I want to be. So that's the vision that you want. And so the final piece of the vision confidence is focus. What do I have to do to make this a reality?
Yeah.
So I went through that, and I was thinking when I went into it, I'm going to see all this, and it's going to tell me that I need to go and concentrate on these things because I'm good at it or I enjoy that. And there were assessments which would give you the information. But the eureka moment for me, the moment of clarity, should we say, for me, was realizing that I didn't really care what I did. I had done so many things, and that wasn't the number one thing
culture
that I was looking for. It was who I did it with, that I needed to be on the same page with them. And it really wasn't, I wound up working for this guy. He said, I want you to be a consultant. So I did life and career planning consulting for about 8 years. I still am doing some of that because people know I do it, and they just say, I need some help.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know what direction I want to go. And if you're willing to make the commitment, it's about a 20 to 25 hour FaceTime process.
Okay.
And then there's a number of assessments that I use to provide the data, the information. The one thing you need to make a good decision is good information.
Absolutely.
So
you can only make bad decisions on bad information.
Well, it's at that point it's potluck.
Yeah.
It'll be hit or miss. And truthful is, most people go through life and they accumulate, like I did at 52, a number of good and bad experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so you try to, most people really probably don't sit back and say, well, what was it that made this good? And how do I replicate that? Yeah. They're just looking for the next, as I said, I'm looking for the next pasture to graze into.
Sure.
But I figured out that what was most important to me was the people that I was working, that we shared values.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had always stayed in contact with Shep from, actually, I met Shep in 1977. He came through from Princeton.
Okay.
He was a mechanical engineer studying at Princeton University. He came by Interstate 80, and his dad said, hey, you ought to run up and see the Eberle boys. We're about 90 miles north of I-80 in the middle of Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere. We're more deer than people. But so he came up, and that's the first time I met Shep. I talked to Fred the whole time. He was good friends with my father. Mm-hmm. They were both.
You guys are very similar.
We're both. They were both third generation. Shep and I are both fourth generation tanners. Yeah. Not that makes leather.
No, but it is a very unique set of
if you take advantage of
circumstances.
There's really two kinds of SOBs.
Okay.
And SOBs being sons of bosses.
Okay.
So, and the one is where there's nepotism, and the father wants to take it easy on the son.
Yeah.
And of course, that has a very negative effect on the rest of the organization, because they always know he's going to get treated differently than the rest of the people, and it creates friction. Mm-hmm. Whether anybody talks about it or not, it's there. And then the other SOB is where the father's smart enough to know that he has a chance to do more for the organization by asking more out of his son than he asked out of the employees.
Sure.
And so that's that. Shep and I were both fortunate to have the latter fathers, and they demanded much more of us than the rest of the employees. I always joke. My dad said when I came to work, he said, we only work half days around here. And I said, well, that's good. And he said, I don't care which 12 hours that is. and then after, a couple of months there, I thought he was short. It's more like 14.
Yeah.
I was looking for the 12-hour day.
Yeah. Well, so going back to your experience, I know when I was just at Hermann Oak last week, I was there on a Tuesday, and I made sure that I was there for your little meeting that you guys have on Tuesday afternoons. And one of the fellows, I feel like maybe I'm going to get it wrong. Maybe it was Carlos, but one of them had just reached, I think, his 21-year anniversary. Was I correct? Is it Carlos?
I think so.
Okay. And so, that announcement was made, and that is amazing. I mean, Springfield Leather is only 26 years old. I think we just had our 25th anniversary last year. We're 26 years old this year, but to have an employee for 21, and I know that he is not in the minority of employees. And so growing up, did you guys have a very similar circumstance or situation at your tannery where
we had a 30-year club?
I saw that
And
in the PDF. There was that little
gotta
box.
You got to watch. So
Yeah.
you could retire with your, it wasn't a gold watch, but you could at least retire with a watch. But the best part of the 30-year club was they had a party every year.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And
like a reunion.
Even when I was like 12 years old, I went and this was back, before there were a lot of legal issues with serving alcohol. And I was at 12 years old, I was pouring all these guys that worked at the tannery, and some of them were second and third generation employees of Eberle Tanning Company. So not only did they have 30 years, their dad worked there.
It's just the same.
Yeah. It's kind of like my cousin Vinny, we said, well, what
Isn't
qualifies
that a movie, My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah. What qualifies you to be a mechanic? Well, my father was a mechanic. My father's brothers were mechanics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how life kind of used to be lived a little bit.
Yeah. And of course, it was a small town, 1,200 people.
And I think you employed 500 of them?
No. When I was there, at one time, when they were doing a lot of
maybe it was
cutting,
100.
It was 180 people when I was there. And we produced 1,200 hides a day. 1,200 people in the town, 1,200 feet above sea level.
A lot of 12s.
The actual tannage was 12 days.
What?
We used 12% tannin, and we produced a bend that weighed 12 pounds.
You literally could not have been in any other place.
It was 12 was the number.
That's incredible. Oh my goodness. So let's see here. At Hermann Oak now, you are the CEO?
Chief Executive Officer.
The Chief Executive Officer and the hide buyer.
Uh-huh.
So what's the day in a life of a hide buyer?
Well, the day, it's an ongoing, like the tannage. And I just like to say describe the tannage a little bit.
Sure.
Is that what we do? We start out with a hide.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you guys talked the other day, 8 to 10 base products. And out of those 8 to 10 products, we use about 100 chemicals. If you went down our inventory of chemicals, we use about 100 chemicals. If I started describing the process, I could easily name about 1,000 steps that we take.
Wow.
There are, and we just hang a number on it, there are at least 10,000 interactions, because we got the natural hide with proteins. Proteins are a class of chemicals.
Sure. Yeah.
They have chemical formulas. Yeah. I just described the veg tans. They're a whole class. There's not one veg tan. It's within a handful, there will be at least 100 different formations of the tannin in there.
Yeah.
So you take these two class of compounds and put them, there's no way to describe what happens. So what I like to talk about when I talk about the tanning, our job is, particularly as veg tanners, is to create the environment where, if we know that every time the hide passes through this particular part of the process, we've created the conditions which we know will produce the leather that satisfies our customers.
Okay.
So our job is, we're kind of like overseers of the process, that we have to make sure that the process is correct.
Right.
If we do our job there, we will make good leather.
Right.
And the main quality, the main thing that we hear from our customers is the way they describe that is consistency. That it's the same yesterday, and they know it'll be the same tomorrow. So that when they do what they do with the leather reacts the same way to their process. Yeah. With no surprises.
Well, especially because you guys are making a raw product, and then somebody else is going to turn around and do a whole nother set of things to it.
Yeah, and we start with 2 natural materials.
Yeah.
Which have a lot of variability in them. And so we're trying to take something that is variable and make it uniform.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It is. So that being said, The hides, we like to provide a lot of feedback. We live at Hermann Oak. The reason that Hermann Oak's leather looks like it is today is because of our customers. We listen to
Yeah.
what we don't use the leather.
Right.
So
Right.
tell us what you need the leather to do or to be.
Yeah.
Tell us when it's not, and we'll try to make the adjustments. So we carry that same kind of thinking back to our suppliers. We actually provide them with information that nobody else does.
I was going to say, I bet you're probably one of the few tanners that
And-
comes into the meat side of it and says, "Hey, can you work on these things for me?"
So we were at a packing house as a hide supplier last week. Our new plant manager Cody and they gave us a tour of the packing plant, and so we're up there, and the gentleman who runs the hide curing facility, was telling the packing house manager a little bit about Hermann Oak, and these guys, we really like working with these guys. And I said, can I jump in here a little bit? One thing I think what he likes about working with Hermann Oak is that, and I said, his name's Jack. I said, Jack, how many claims has Hermann Oak put in the last 20 years? And he looked at me and he said, well, Hermann Oak doesn't file claims. I said, what do you get from Hermann Oak? He said, I get information from Hermann Oak on what kind of a job we're doing.
You don't complain later. You try to preempt
and I don't
it.
come and I don't. And so what I tell them, our hide suppliers, is we don't want your money.
Yeah.
We don't want bad hides. We want good hides. Adam said it last time in episode 2. He said it costs just as much. This sounds silly, but it's so true. It costs just as much to tan a good hide as it does a poor hide or a bad hide. And, our customers want good hides.
Yeah, you want good hides.
So we have to figure out a way to work with hide suppliers that we get the best hides that they have to offer.
Okay.
And the other thing that we tell them is that when we work with them is we say, we're buying maybe 10% of your hides. You have bigger customers than Hermann Oak. But the advantage of working with us when you get this information is if you act on that information, you make a better hide. Not only will you satisfy Hermann Oak, you're going to satisfy and separate yourself from the rest of the industry for having a higher quality hide. And when other people are having trouble selling hides or there's a dip in the market, they're going to come to you first, and you're going to get top dollar because you've got a better product. And we want to help you help us.
Right. Yeah. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
That's right. And I think so. It's the same thing. We, whether we look to our customers or we look to our suppliers, we talk about having a relational. Yeah. The nature of our relationships we need to be relational, not transactional, not cut and dry. It's not about money. Shep always said, look, the most important thing for Springfield Leather is for you guys to make money. At the same time, Hermann Oak has to make money too, because if neither of us are making money, that's not a business. That's, in today's language, that's not sustainable.
Correct.
And that's not going to get you from 1881, and it's not going to get you 26 years on down the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to answer your question, what happens in the life of a hide buyer is the hide buyer is got to be vigilant. He's got to be looking. Our main inspection point is when we get the hair off, because we can see what's going on with the hides. And the two main factors that we really look for is number one, the butcher damage.
Okay.
When they're taking the hide off, and another fun fact: when I go up to the packing house, the first time I was with the manager up in Omaha, it's Greater Omaha Packing, and we're standing over the harvest floor where they
process
the beef at the rate of 330 head an hour.
That's so amazing.
I turned to him and I said, how many knives touch every hide? He said, I don't know. That's a good question. Let's count. So what do you think it was?
How many not? 3.
Up,
More? 10.
up,
20.
up.
50.
42.
Really?
There's 42 knives touch every hide.
Wow.
So the opportunity.
It's a lot.
And remember, they're not in the hide business.
No.
They're in the beef business.
Yep.
So the first thing they're going to protect is the carcass, not the wrapper.
Correct. The inside.
So it's we're dealing with a byproduct here, but that doesn't mean that you can't take care.
Right. And it doesn't mean that they don't care about what
they do. They do care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and they do want to make a good, they're about excellence. And so, anyway, keeping track of those hides, we keep track of the weights. But really the butcher cuts and the brands they just can't see them all. And in particular, when you get into the either the freeze brands as opposed to the hot brand, or the acid brands, they're a lighter brand. And if you look at a branded piece, you'll see that if it's a fire brand, that's a wound. And the scar tissue goes all the way through. You've seen this.
Absolutely.
On the splitting machine.
Seen it on the back.
You see it on the grain. You see it on when you look at the split side. Then you look at the split,
and it's still there.
And then you look at the flesh side of the split, and you see this. It's
those are the ones I'm like, that
all
poor
the way
cow.
through. Yeah, all the way through.
That was a lot. All right, so that's a fire brand. What does the freeze brand look like?
It's just lighter. So it'll just basically freeze the hair off and damage the hair cells so the hair doesn't grow back.
So just a surface.
You can see it. But it's a much lighter, when the hair grows around it, in particular in the winter, you get longer hair, it covers it up. So you'll get more of those brands.
Gotcha.
So then we'll look at, we do keep the hides separate by supplier and by truckload.
I could see that when we walked into the where you keep all your hides at Hermann Oak. You can see Adam was showing us the pallets and how you can tell one plant from another one on just how the hides come. He's like, this one is a lot cleaner. They have a different fleshing situation.
They're using a food grade salt, actually.
Okay.
As opposed to the other guys buy a really cheap salt that has some contaminants in it, and you see that comes out in
some road salt.
Yeah. But anyway, it gets the job done. But you see the difference, and those guys that had that lighter hide, they're trying to make a name. They're trying to put the best hide that they can out there. That's why we buy from them.
Yeah,
because it's a better hide.
Well, and so how frequently are you getting truckloads of hides?
We're doing basically 2 truckloads a week.
Wow. All right.
And we also then will do, once we get it made into leather, the hides converted into leather, get them, quote, upstairs to the finishing department. We'll do a sort where we'll look at the grading. So how many number ones, or how many A's, B's, C's, how many, well, we already know how many brands, but there are butcher cuts that you can't see downstairs that you'll see upstairs. And so we'll accumulate that information. You guys also talked, I listened to the podcast number 2 this morning on the way in, and you talked about the benefit of Adam doing leather crafting.
Yeah.
And how he gets to experience. So he knows when he's talking to leather crafters, he knows exactly what they're talking about. And we've got our finishing DJ upstairs in the finishing department. He used to run a tack shop.
Okay.
He was a customer of Hermann Oak.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
So it's really fun to, when we'll be talking about something, we instantly get the customer's perspective on it, which is really helpful, because what could be good for the tanner doesn't necessarily good for the leather manufacturer, leather goods manufacturer, whatever they're making.
Well, I know that was one thing that Adam talked about, like the different iterations of Hermann Oak through the century and a half that it has been producing. Every Herman that has run it has tried to tailor the tannery for the needs of the time, whether it was tack and things for
harness.
harness.
There was a time when
stuff.
they made a lot of leather for golf bags.
Really?
When Shep's dad came in.
I think I remember there was like a pile of leathers. This was probably my first tour that we took out there. And I feel like I remember something about golf bags, something or others. And it was like, this is that section of leather right here. And probably hadn't been touched in a while. I don't know.
With all the fabrics.
Yeah.
Coming into to that end of the business.
Yeah. But Shep's, main focus for the market has been the saddle, the high-end custom saddle makers for the last several decades. Is those are the mainstay of Hermann Oak's business.
The French would say our raison d'etre, a reason to be.
Yeah, is those saddles. And it's true, you guys are the suppliers for probably every custom saddle, I'm going to say, that's made in the United States.
A lot of them. But again, as Adam pointed out, one leather doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
And what we really like, we like to give the market, the customer base, a choice, so that if they get around to Hermann Oak and using Hermann Oak, we have this expression: if you like Hermann Oak, you know why you like Hermann Oak. It's not because of a brand name. It's because the leather does something that works better for you than any other leather that they've tried. Mm-hmm. And it makes a difference in their work, whether it's production or crafting. And they use it because they like it.
Yeah.
And so we always come back and say, well, why? What is it about the leather that you like? And
you ask yourself the five whys.
You guys talked a lot about the fact that most other veg tanners are pickling today. And what that does is it speeds up the tannage.
Yeah.
So you can tan faster. You get a lighter, brighter color because of lower pH. You can tan at higher temperatures with higher concentrations. That's what makes it. You can speed up the process. Actually, the pickling was developed for the chrome tannage, and then some of the veg guys just said, well, maybe we could pickle our veg leathers. And they started. It actually came out of South Africa.
Okay.
A place called Leather Industries Research Institute. And that came from the wattle industry, which a lot of the tree bark from the wattle tree comes out of South Africa. So that was all paid for by the extract producers of South Africa, but they promoted it. Mm-hmm. And actually, when I started Eberle Tanning Company, they had already in the late '60s already converted their tannage, Eberle Tannings, to the Liritan. I actually spent 6 weeks in South Africa at the Leather Industries Research Institute with the guy that developed the tannage.
Wow.
His name's Stanley Shuttleworth. And we actually published a paper on pickle veg tanning.
Interesting.
So I really know that process. When Wickett was using it, when they left Toronto, we instituted that at Curwensville. And so I knew it inside out. Shep, during that time period, so in the 90s, when he was figuring everything out at Hermann Oak and wondering kind of what's next, everything was this pickled tannage,
right.
Veg tan. So he said, I've got to know what this is. And he went down. Doug Morrison wound up helping him with that. Doug had run both a traditional veg tan and the Liritan, so he knew both.
Okay.
And so he said, I'm your guy. And so they experimented with Liritan, with the pickle tannage at Hermann Oak. They generated some leather, made some leather, sent it out to the customers, and said, they didn't say this is what they did. They just said, we're looking at a new tannage, a new process. Mm-hmm. We'd like your comments on it. And so they cut it up, and here was the sum of the comments. This leather, it's good for what it is, but I can buy this leather from a number of other tanners.
Right.
It's very good, but it's very much like other leathers that I can buy. I can't buy Hermann Oak, the regular Hermann Oak traditional tannage anywhere else.
Right.
And so Shep, all the Hermans, Shep, there's really a culture of listening at Hermann Oak. Listened to what the customers were saying and said, I don't think so. Let's provide the marketplace with an alternative leather.
Because if everybody is going to that, then you guys have a really unique product that's left.
Yep. So it was a great way to differentiate ourselves, Hermann Oak, in the marketplace.
Yeah. Are there any other tanneries that are doing what you do?
Some really small ones that are really non-production.
Yeah.
There is an oak bark tanner. He's got a great video. I can't remember the name of it in England, but he's grinding up the oak bark and he's throwing the oak bark into the pits and layering the hides in there. Which is, that's how they do it.
So instead of vertical, he's doing like a stacked situation?
Yeah, layers it in there. And they're in there for 6 months. Very slow process. And the oak tannage gives you this grayish, blotchy tannage, but it's a unique leather. And he's got certain, if you're going to cover it over with dyes and whatnot, it's a unique tannage. It's very, very good for certain things, but he produces maybe what we do in a week, he does in a year.
Yeah.
So it's not commercially available.
Britain's last oak bark tanner.
There you go. There it is. And the name of it is what?
JJ's, I believe.
Yeah. And this is Jeff Baker. Jay Baker. And I take my hats off to those guys. That is something.
Wow.
And so they make a unique piece of leather, but it's almost like small batch bourbon or something.
It really is.
It really is. It's
6 months.
Yeah. Yep. So there he's actually suspending. But that's actually the unhairing. He unhairs in pits.
Interesting. Yeah, that's got to be the worst smell of the tannery. Is that little section right there with the lime and the...
Well, it's all. Well, the other thing that happens there is, so what do? You dissolve the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say we use industrial strength Nair, but the reality is we use a compound of sulfur.
Okay.
Sodium hydrosulfide, and that actually goes in and destroys the bond that keeps the hair together, and it winds up being just a pulp that goes down the drain.
Right. So then you have to... Adam did show me that really fancy new water tank that you guys have.
Yeah, the treatment facility.
Yeah. And he shared the cost of that. And I was like, oh, goodness. We were talking, let's see here. So we had made our way past the pits. And so as you come around that corner, you come up the hill, and then you have the new pits on this side and your old ones are here, and there's like a wall where you go past, and there's this machine that's the size of our offices, where it squeeges out the excess fluid.
It's not that big.
Well, it
you're talking about the wringer.
The
I
wringer.
thought you were going to talk about the scudding machine. No, the ringer's big.
The ringer's that was a big dude. And so we were talking about just the cost of that machine, and I think maybe that came right before or after he started. So he wasn't 100% sure on that, but man, that thing is gargantuan. And then he's like, you want to see something real expensive? So we went out to the door, or went up around the steps and looked out the door to the treatment plant, just like you were talking about Eberle tanning. A lot of in the 60s and 70s, the environmental stuff came up, can't dump things in rivers anymore.
I remember it was the Water Pollution Control Act of 1972.
Okay. Yeah. And so that, even Hermann Oak and all the tanneries had to then start making accommodations for cleaning the water, because water is the number one thing that a tannery is using.
It's the chemical that we use the most of.
Yeah, that H2O. There was another number that was written on a little board outside the office at Hermann Oak, and it was 128,000, I think, which was the water bill.
Yes. Yeah, that's a sewer bill.
Yeah. And so is water the number one expense? Is it leather? Is it tree bark for a tannery?
Well, actually, right now we're paying more for extract than we are for hides.
Are you?
And part of that is the tariffs.
Yeah.
So we're paying 30% on South African
Wow. Yeah.
extract and 10% on Argentine.
Yeah.
And it's really hard right now. Our main competitors come out of Mexico, and there's no tariff on the Mexican leather, and the Mexicans don't have to pay the tariff on the extract.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense.
So they got
they're just able to import it.
double bonus there. So we're kind of waiting to see what happens.
Sure.
But it's going to be, the way things, without getting too far into the political economy, but until Congress, we're never going to get a handle on inflation until the most inflationary aspect of our political economy today is the congressional spending.
Okay.
And the $37 trillion worth of debt, and the fact that the Federal Reserve, can't control the spending. What if you were responsible for paying somebody's credit card and you didn't have control of what they were spending? That's in effect what we have happening.
Mm-hmm.
And all this talk between the Fed and the president is all kind of germane because it's what Congress is spending.
Right.
And so that's enough of that.
Okay. I heard a bit.
So you didn't get a...
Oh, no, we got the audio. Yeah.
No, but you didn't get it didn't get a charge on it.
It didn't. This cord apparently isn't a charging cable. It is a data transfer cable.
It wasn't a smart cable.
It's a dumb cable.
Yeah, I'm, looking forward. Shep wrote, when COVID hit, and our prices, I think we put our prices up for the entirety of COVID. With all that inflation, we went up 22%
in cost,
in prices. And I don't see we're getting just killed this year.
Yeah.
And so and this is my point in talking about the broader economy. Inflation is not under control, and it will. I'm not an economist, but my take on it is until Congress gets their spending under control, we're not going to have inflation under control.
Well, I mean, you can see it when you look at the housing market. You can see pre-COVID levels of housing prices or whatever you want to call it. And then they're still 50 to 75 to 100% higher than what they were 6 years ago. Like I feel like that's the most in your face example of how like inflation just in the last half a decade has skyrocketed.
And just because the Federal Reserve says money's cheaper now, that doesn't mean that the market's going to agree with them.
Right.
All that means is that the interest that the Federal Reserve charges the banks is lower.
Right. But that doesn't mean that you're actually getting more for your money. It's very complicated, Tom. Everything is very complicated. Oh, we're good. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything that you would like to cover that we haven't yet that you think is just good information for people?
Yeah, I think in light of Shep's passing and so we talk about transition and what's happening. Who's going to run? What's happening at Hermann Oak? From who are the people going to be making the leather? And Shep always had a good point with me and in saying, Tom, we don't really need managers here. And management is doing things right. What we really need here is leadership. And when you look back over what Shep did beyond what he did at Hermann Oak and what he did beyond the four walls of Hermann Oak was with the Leather and Hide Council of America and some of these other things that he was involved in. He was a leader.
Yeah.
And he did the right things for the right reasons. And that's the difference his point was that's the difference between a manager and a leader.
Mm-hmm.
A leader listens and does things. I heard on another podcast, somebody asked a question. He said, "What's your definition of a leader? How would you define leadership?" And he didn't take long. He was out of the military, and he said 3 words. So what are the 3 words? It's my fault.
Okay.
And what that conveys is that, yes, I'm the leader, but my responsibility is to get the team to function.
Yeah.
And so the way that I do that, I have to know where the team is.
Yeah.
I need to, part of my job and part of what Shep's job was, basically two main things that he never left as long as he was with us was number one, the strategy. Where are we going, and what's changing that we need to be mindful of, so that we can, we can react in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
The second thing is the culture. If we don't have the right culture, we'll never be able to do what we know we can do. The culture is the key. Yes, we have to make good cake, he used to say. We're in the cake business, and if people don't like our cake, we don't have a business.
Right.
But it's not just the cake. Why don't we put some really nice icing on it? And the icing is our customer service, the relational aspect.
Yep.
And so we these are our goals. This is what we say we want to do. And then another leadership thing that Shep always talked about was setting it. A leader's job is to set expectations and then hold people accountable to those. Everybody agrees this is what we should be doing. This is the direction we're heading.
And you set
These
those
are the results
in
that we want,
communication
and
with
communicate
your team.
them,
Yeah.
and then provide the discipline to hold people accountable. And I had, throughout my career, for some reason, I'll use the term escaped a lot of supervision. It was like a lot of times people it's like the owner of Wicket and Craig, he just said, "It's your problem now.
Go.
Just go."
Yeah.
The over, yes, he reviewed budgets and everything, but at the end of the day,
Tom did what Tom wanted to do.
Yeah, he said Tom did what he wanted to do without a lot of input and accountability. I remember I sat down with my father, and they were in the process of building a sewer plant, and I looked at the sewer plant, and I came to the conclusion that it wasn't going to work for a number of reasons. I went in and told my father. I said, "We got a huge problem here," and he listened to what I had to say, and then he looked at, and he said nothing. And I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" He said, "What do you mean, what do I want to do?" He said, "If I knew what to do, we wouldn't be in this mess. Apparently you do. Go figure it out." So I spent the next 4 years figuring it out.
Wow.
But anyway, and then I talked about Wicket. The number of places I went, I just had no real accountability supervision. And until I got to Hermann Oak. And when I got to Hermann Oak, Shep did what I just told you. He set expectations for me, and he followed up on them. And I think I would give Shep credit for transforming me from a good manager. I always knew what to do to do things right, but I didn't know what the right thing to do was.
Right. He made you a good leader.
And he transformed me from a manager to a leader, and I'll forever in debt for that. And so the good news about all that is that this is all at Hermann Oak today. Yeah. With Adam and Drew.
Yeah.
But it's some people use the fancy word inculcate. They're indoctrinated. They are branded with this concept of being a leader, not a manager, and realizing that the culture is the most that we can't supercharge. We can't make really good cake, and we can't provide the icing if we don't have the culture to do it. Yeah, and the culture is what we use the term supercharges our ability to make good cake and the good icing.
Well,
And
just
these guys are all fully. This is the way they operate. It's the norm for them, and this will be Shep's legacy.
Yeah.
Whatever he developed there, it's really a way of thinking. It's how I think and how I see the business. That is
It's
going to
like
be the
on a
legacy.
bus, like you're on a bus.
Well, this is the bus analogy comes from a book. Jim Collins, Good to Great is the name of the book. It's a great book.
Good to grade.
Good to great.
Okay.
So how do you take
Oh, good
something
to
that's
great.
good? So it
Okay.
really is going to what's the difference in it? He explores what's the difference between a good company
Mhm.
and a great company. What's the difference is the people. So, and as you dig into it, so the analogy of a business to a bus. So you got a bus, where's it going? Somebody has to decide where it's going. Well, that's a strategic decision. Where am I going? That's the first
And that's
question.
that's an important question to have answered.
So setting the strategic direction of the company is where's the bus pointing? And then the second question is, that's who's driving the bus because they're going to determine where it's going. But the second question is, who are we driving? Who's on the bus?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to get the right people on the bus that will help you get to where you say you want to go. And then the third thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that once you got the right people in the right buses, that they're in the right seat in the bus.
Yeah.
And so you match, this is back to what I was saying about the life and career planning, that what the individual strengths and weaknesses are, where they're good and where they're not so good. And, let's get them in an area where they'll flourish. And so you have to know them.
Yeah.
And you have to work with them on that basis. And so this is another thing I'm excited about is working with the guys there to develop a strategic plan for each one of them.
Okay.
And this would be people in the leadership positions, so Cody and Adam and Drew, and so that they have personally experienced strategic planning for themselves. So they will naturally think strategically about the business. They see the value of it in their own lives, and so they'll leverage that in the business. And so, from a transition or continuation standpoint, this is how we'll replace Shep's strategic thinking that he did for the company. We'll have a group of people that think strategically.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there aren't that many other tanners. I don't even know that many other companies that are doing what we're doing. So the idea is 1881 is to make this place good to go, not just good to great, but good to go for a number of years on down the road.
Yeah. I know when you first came in here, you were talking about how important it was for you to find a place with the culture that fit in, where you felt like you could excel. It didn't matter what you did, but with the people and the goal of the company, like you wanted to find a place that it fit who you were.
I wanted to get on a bus that was going where I wanted to go.
Yeah. And that wasn't necessarily a specific destination, but it's a specific feel, and it's a specific community that you're able to gather around you.
It's like my kids when they were growing up, there were some parents, should we say, that were a little more lenient than my wife and I were. And they said, I'd like to live with the Smiths or whoever, And of course, we would say, well, why don't you go on over, see if they'll take you in. But what if you could pick? So many times we talk about a family. The business is like if you work there, it's like being part of a family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so you can't always, back to my point about my kids, you really can't pick your family. You're born into a family. You could say you're stuck in a family. Now I happen to be, my family worked out very well. But when it comes to your job, if you pick if you looked at the business as a job or the company as a family,
Mhm.
you can pick it.
Yeah.
And this was the whole, again, aha moment I had when I went through the life and career planning. I'm looking for the wrong thing.
Yep.
I'm focused on the wrong thing. I now know what I'm looking for. And of course, when Shep called, it was like the guy from Wicket and Craig. When he called, I knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Don't even give me a second to think about it.
That's where I want to be.
I'm in. Yep.
Yep.
Here's the thing about strategic planning. I've already thought about it.
Sure.
And so when I see what I said I wanted.
When that door
and
opens, you're ready to go through.
Oh, that's what I wanted.
Yep. It's a green light. No, I think that's really amazing. And I think, a lot of people that are leather crafters or working to become, they start out as it's something to do outside of their full-time job. And with the hopes and maybe the intent that eventually it could become the thing it is that they do. And a lot of people, I think, really appreciate how much of a family the leather community is.
Oh, man.
And I think, I think Shep was a lot of that. I think he spent time with his customers. He went around and he visited and he goes to the shows.
He did at the show, it would be, the show would start at 8:30 or 9 o'clock and it'd be 10:30 and people would come to the Hermann Oak booth and they'd say, I was hoping to see Shep. Is he here? Did he come? Yeah, he's here. Well, where is he? Well, we left him at breakfast and we have his rate of speed calculated at about 10 feet per hour. So he would stop and talk to anybody about anything for any amount of time.
Yep.
Until they were done.
Yeah. He cared about the community and he cared, and it didn't matter what it was. And that is just probably one of the best things and why I still work at Springfield Leather. It's not that I'm making bukus of money. I'm definitely not. And, even my hobby where I make things, it's an amazing craft to do with your hands. You can build something that's going to last for a lifetime because of the materials that you're using and the care that you're putting into it. But it's also just the community. When you go out to Sheridan, which unfortunately is really the only leather show that I've been to, but I know when you go to Pendleton or you go to Texas, to one of those, when you go to any of these places, the instructors that come from around the world to teach people their skills and their craft, to the vendors that are there to encourage you to do things. There's so many of us that have YouTube channels to put out information so that we are helping the newbies that are coming in to, there's no gatekeeping on information. Like, we want people to do leathercraft. We don't want this to die. And I think Shep pioneered that for the crafting industry in America. And it's something that I
certainly encouraged it.
Yeah, that's, I take that to heart when I sit down and I do things like this, or I go to the shows, or I'm answering an email from somebody that just, I got a lady that needed the most specific. And if you're listening to this, I appreciate you, but she wanted saturated persimmon upholstery leather. And I was like, I don't even know what it means to be a saturated persimmon. I was like,
I don't either.
What color is that? It was the most specific color example I've ever seen. But, I want to help that person as much as I want to help anybody else to do their craft and to make their thing. And I feel so privileged that I get to help somebody to make something really cool for their customer. And I think it's just a really amazing industry to be a part of.
It is. I was at Sheridan one year and a local newspaper reporter came up and said, tell me a little bit about this show. And I said, oh, this show. I said, what's happening here is a collaboration that doesn't have, I've never experienced in any other show or any other industry. where you have suppliers and customers, and we're all and professionals, the teachers and whatnot, and there is a collaboration here at the level that it just doesn't exist anyplace else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really it provides a connectedness that you just don't see anywhere. And
Yeah.
we're all kind of, it's what we try to do at Hermann Oak, and try in terms of all try to row in the same direction. We're all trying to, we have something, and this is always the key with a goal. It's bigger than any one individual.
Yeah.
And so it's worth it.
It is.
It's worth whatever sacrifice comes with it, because there's a greater purpose involved. And then somehow my purpose gets tied up in that greater purpose, and it winds up giving me purpose.
Right.
So that's a cool thing.
You spent the whole of your life in the leather industry, but through that, you've kind of made these little branches into other little things that you found that kind of tie in. And through your life, you've had a lot of stops and starts in the leather industry where things have happened and changed and moved. And my goodness, who else has worked for Eberle Tanning, Wickett and Craig, Hermann Oak, Prime? Like
Brunninger, I represented a German tanner that was the largest supplier to Louis Vuitton
really?
For about 3 years.
You are fancy. Well,
I got to spend weeks at a time over in France in the Vuitton factories.
Wow.
So I've been very fortunate to see a lot.
Yeah. So what keeps bringing you back in? What is it about the leather industry?
The need.
Yeah.
People have a need, and I can help them with that need. I mean, this is basic. This is, it's like the teacher asks the question, and I've got I can help. I can answer that. I can be helpful.
Yeah.
I can help people with what they need.
So do you think of yourself as a chemist, as a leader, as a plant manager? I don't know when you think about your experience.
Well,
in the leather industry.
today I've really switched into, and Shep said when I got there, I have my style, if you would, is a consultative style. So I suggest things to people. And so, what if you did this? What do you know? What do you know about this? What can you tell me about this? What are you doing? Why are you doing?
You like to ask questions.
I like to ask questions, and not that Shep didn't like to ask questions, but so I would take a consultant's approach to it, and if he said it once, he said it 100 times. He said, "Eberle, I need a leader, not a consultant." And this is part of how he helped me switch from being a manager to a leader.
Yeah.
And yet to do it in such a way, we talk so lean manufacturing at Hermann Oak really means we've co-opted that term. We've cut out really more than anything, lean manufacturing would indicate that you have trimmed up.
Right.
You've cut it and cut out the waste. The main waste that we saw was a waste of human capital because of the way that the interpersonal communication and treatment of how we treated one another.
Mm-hmm.
And, Shep would always when he would address the guys on our Tuesday meeting there on more than one occasion, he said, I've read a lot of books on management. A lot of them have been written. A lot of them I didn't read, but he said, I finally found the book. The best book ever written on management and leadership, and that happened to be written 2,000 years ago. And you would know it as the Bible. And he said, as far as I'm concerned, the title suggests basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Okay,
This is the acronym for Bible, and he made no bounds about it. Of course, he had pancreatic cancer. 1 in 5 people are eligible for surgery. The other, they just say, get your stuff in order. The other 4 out of 5. if you get the surgery, 1 out of 5 have a life expectancy beyond 2 years. So Shep got 9 years, and he made hay in all of 9 of those years, and he gave the credit to his maker.
Yeah.
And he shared that. And he said, if you don't have that, life's going to be hard. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
So that's where really part of his Celebrate Life came from.
Yep.
It's good. Even life is good, even with pancreatic cancer.
He always had a smile on his face.
Yes, he did.
He always did. You could pick it out from above everyone too.
Well, yeah, he had a good platform.
He
Huh?
had a good platform. I know poor Lindsay, she walks up and she's like down here, just staring at his belt buckle. But it was a good belt buckle.
Yeah.
I saw you guys got him on the wall now. You framed him up and
Yep.
put him. He won a couple of awards. And he had some cool bling. Well, Tom, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
All
for
right,
coming
before
out.
we go,
Yeah.
I just want to say I appreciate this opportunity, but part of it is, I couldn't go by Springfield without stopping at Springfield because of what I was saying earlier about looking for people who share the values and share the vision. And you guys do that in spades. And so every time I come here, I know I'm going to get to talk about stuff that we're on the same page, that we're rowing in the same direction, and that we are not transactional, that there's relationship here.
Absolutely.
And that makes at the end of the day, that makes all the difference. And it's something very special. And I wouldn't pass it up. And so I'm always looking forward to seeing you guys at a show when you come by the tannery. And so I'm just delighted to be here and always enjoy it.
Well, thank you
So
very much.
thank you.
Thank you. I know, just real fast, we're going to throw all that in there. Leather is a natural material. And the way that you guys tan it showcases the naturalness of the material. You're not there to hide blemishes. You're not there to hide fat wrinkles. You're not there to hide any part of that animal's life that we are now using to make products out of.
Repurposing, huh?
We're repurposing the wrapper, and I think that very much ties into the relationship aspect of the business. We are not selling a cut and dry product that is 100% the same all of the time.
No widgets.
It's not a widget. Things are going to vary, and conversations are necessary in that process. You need to have a supplier that you can rely on. You need to have a vendor that's going to have your back to say, hey, something has been a little bit weird. We're getting a little bit of this, but then our customers, but just being able, because we don't sell a widget. We sell bellies and butts and shoulders and necks and wrinkles and bug bites. And being able to have the conversation about the material, about the product, to understand where it comes from. You guys are not shy about what you offer to the leather industry, which I think is such a benefit to the leather industry, that you share the struggles and the links that you go to the packing houses and to talk to these, people that are cutting hides off of carcasses, to say, hey, can you cut them a little bit more like this so that my customers aren't dealing with butcher marks in the backs when they're making saddles? Life is a circle. And to be able to talk about it, to know that you have our back, we have your back. Our customer can come to us and talk to them about their needs, because every piece of leather is different. We can talk to you about our needs.
And you're equipped here to talk. That's your business.
Yeah.
You're ready to do that. We couldn't do that.
Yeah. We have the small scale going up, we're buying the couple of products down, and then we're sending out 1 million different products to people as we process it into different things. And so I just, I want to thank you guys for being so transparent with the industry and caring so much, not just about your customer, but about our customer after us. And so it's always a huge privilege.
Well, we see it as an extension, our customers, and an extension of our employees, that we know that a number of our customers do sole source from Hermann Oak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if we don't take care of them, their livelihood's at stake, just like an employee's is.
Yeah.
So it puts an extra incentive for us. It becomes an incentive. We want to take care of our employees.
Positive
we
pressure.
Want, yeah.
Positive
It's
pressure.
good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Good. It's accepting that, seeing the responsibility and accepting it.
Yeah. And what you do is, I mean, like we just said, you're almost the only place in the whole world that does what you do. Like those 60 guys that are making Hermann Oak leather know something that only those 60 guys know.
They see. I spent some time in quality control and at Prime Tanning, and to have a person with a clipboard going around checking things is not the best. The best is to equip the employee, those guys throwing the hides out there. They see every hide. So if we could make them into our quality inspectors.
Yeah.
They see every side. So we have this expression: if you see something,
say something.
Say something. That's right. And so the culture is that when you come to someone who can address the problem, they don't say, he's complaining again. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's say, wait a minute, what are you seeing? What's going on? Tell me more.
Yeah.
And they listen. And then what that does for the employee is, again, it becomes motivational in that what I do and what I say matters.
Yeah.
Well, it's the very it's the very source of purpose. I have purpose. I have my job. My life has meaning because what I do makes a difference.
Yeah. And that's why you have people that are there for 10, 20, 30 years.
Because they're getting a sense of purpose out of the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that's happened, I think, in more modern time, in the last 50 years, is that what's the value of work? A long time, if you get into professional trades, a lot of time, why do people become a pastor or a teacher or a nurse? That they have a sense of calling, that they want to serve other people in this way. And so the value of their work is not just the pay; it's not economic.
Right. You don't become a second grade teacher for the paycheck.
No. And it's what you said about the leather.
Yeah.
It's about getting a sense of purpose, a value.
I get
a non-economic value out of the work that I do.
Absolutely.
There's a song that I just heard the other day. It was "Buy Dirt," and I was listening to this song, and one of the lines in it is, "Do what you love and call it work."
Yeah.
And so to me, that's the right.
Well, I think if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Work your day in your life. But
yeah.
This was woven into a country song. If you haven't listened to it,
we'll look up some dirt later.
Look up "Buy Dirt."
Buy Dirt.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, Tom. Well, thank you so much.
All right. I'm sorry we went over, but
no, we're good.
I'm glad we did.
It's shorter than George's, so we'll be
right.
fine. And that's a wrap on episode 7 of the Make Something podcast. Big thank you to Tom from Hermann Oak for taking the time to share his knowledge and life experiences with us. Make sure you check out some Hermann Oak leather, either from us or if you're buying enough, you can order it straight from them. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow maker. We've got plenty more conversations coming your way. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating, and most importantly, make something.